up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Super Gamer Boys. I'm your host, Colonel and most handsome dad, Garrett Morlang, and here in the virtual studio with me is the king of video games and pocket poppy, Adrian Homeboy Holmes. What is going on?
Oh, so that is you. I almost forgot what you look like. It's been so long.
It's been a minute.
Man.
It's been a minute. Yeah.
Been a little bit. We've been busy doing things and whatnot, going places.
We've been off, a little off schedule here this September. I don't remember because we missed something earlier in the month, and then last week we were both world travelers. Well, at least within the U.S. of A.
It's part of the world. It's part of the world.
It's part of the world. Man, it was a good trip. It was fun. It's always nice to go to Seattle, especially at the time. It was still like 100. I mean, you guys remember from that show. It was like 100 something degrees outside, like 90 in my office.
Yeah, when you were dying, and people were like, "Garrett, please stop dying."
Please,
and you're like, "Actually, no, I like this." Right?
Hurt.
I'm a masochist.
More. And then we go to Seattle, and it was like 60s.
Literally Gray Fox right now.
I'm literally Gray Fox right now. To have it like overcast and rainy and like, I love Seattle. Seattle's the best.
I'm begging for that weather to come over here. What is taking it so long?
I know.
I want it to be gray and rainy so bad.
Yeah.
Oh no, I know it. I know why. I'm just saying. I want to complain.
Yeah. It'll eventually.
I need the rain.
It'll eventually get to you guys, right? Like through the winter, it gets pretty gray and dreary in the Bay Area, right?
Yeah, but it probably won't be till like mid to late next month, unfortunately, because it was still in the high 80s even today. But what can you do? Yeah,
it's cooling off here in San Diego though, because like in the afternoon it did eventually get up to like 85, 86, but this morning it was sprinkling on the way into work. Like there was rain hitting the windshield and it was like 60 degrees. I'm like, that is not normal San Diego at all. It was weird. Like how it was like foggy and rainy. I'm like, we brought a little bit of Seattle back with us. It was great. But yeah,
dude, I get the best sleep when it rains. I can't wait.
It's the best. That's like number one weather. If I could live somewhere where it just rained all the time,
or if it rains on and off and then the streets are foggy like London. Oh, don't let it be a gray day with foggy streets. You know what I mean? It's still so kind of hard to see outside. They got to keep the street lamps on. Oh, A1 aesthetic right there.
Love me some cold and rainy places. But you went on a little trip too. I don't know. Did you mention where you were even, or no? I guess plans changed for you though. Like when we recorded last time, plans were completely different for you.
Plans changed big time. I was gonna go to Disneyland in LA with my brother, and turns out that was not the case, unfortunately. But we made a gigantic pivot, and I ended up going down to Florida and seeing him where he lives and going to Disney World instead. And that all happened within the course of a couple of days. So boy, was I scrambling.
That's like an upgrade. That's a little bit of an upgrade. Disney World versus Disneyland.
Yeah. So I went out there, had a fantastic time hanging out with my little brother in his element. And he is doing great. And I'm glad to see, he's doing his thing. I'm proud of him. So.
That's awesome. That's so great. I'm jealous. I don't know. One of these days I want to get to Disney. I mean, we live so close to Disneyland. It seems crazy that
You're literally an hour away, an hour and some change away.
It's probably, with traffic, it's probably closer to a couple hours. But yeah, depending on when you go, it could be like between an hour or two. Like it's wild that, other than the price of tickets. That's the thing. Just because you live close doesn't mean it's any cheaper. I mean, if you live really close, it is cheaper. They have like discounts for residents, but you have to be within the county. Like, we're San Diego, you don't get it. You're not good enough.
Well, I will say a big part of the decision to do that was because my brother does work at Disney World. So we were able to, bypass that little ticketing issue.
That's
and I also didn't have to pay to stay anywhere. I just stayed at his house. So I really only had to pay for a plane ticket.
For a flight. That's great. It's awesome.
You know,
not too shabby. I enjoyed your Instagram stories, keeping everyone up to date on your drinking around the world.
Oh,
escapades.
dude. That was such a fun day. And I was like, I was a solid maybe 8 out of 10 on the Richter scale, man. Like I was feeling fantastic that day. Don't let some music start playing. I was definitely grooving. It was nice. It was nice.
Suck7 in the chat says, you're literally in my backyard. I see the fireworks from my house.
Dude, Suck, I didn't know you lived in Florida. I would have told you to come down.
Dang.
Oh, man. Well, you know what? If I ever come back down that way, which you never know, because I didn't even know I was coming down this time.
That's true.
I will have to keep you posted.
Dang. That's awesome. Imagine seeing that every day from your house. That'd be great. Mm-hmm. Although maybe it gets annoying.
It gets old.
Especially if you have pets. It's like they're just freaking out all the time.
Like I constantly have to get that stress medication to chill them out all the time. It adds up and it eats away at my money. Oh, I can't stand Disney World.
Soak says it's been old for 10 years. Oh no. Yeah. Okay. That checks
I imagine
out.
for most people who live near a theme park, it's like that. It's like everybody
all those kids having fun.
This magical, this magical destination for everybody, and they come and they have a magical time. And you're like, dude, I just need to get through here. There's always traffic at this intersection.
Right,
I'm just trying to go to this other place.
I just want to go to McDonald's, dude. Come on.
Right.
I just need to get through this intersection.
It takes me 30 minutes to get to McDonald's.
I'm not trying to get to Disney. I'm not trying to park. I just want to go get lunch. Please. All right. Well, today we're going to be talking about the PS5 Pro announcement. It happened. We talked about it last episode, how it might happen, and it definitely did happen. So stay tuned for that. What's going on with the Annapurna implosion? Some new light shed on that. And then Nintendo finally is suing Palworld devs. For what? You'll have to wait and see.
Stay tuned.
But first, let's give a quick shout out to our Patreon producers, Bumble Smash, Kajoma01, and our Super Gamer sponsors, Julie Bates, Mama Mare, and Carrie. And David Matthews. If you want to be awesome just like those folks, head over to patreon.com/supergamerboys, where you can support us starting at just $1 a month. That's right, $1 gets you early and ad-free access to this show, as well as access to our Patreon exclusive shows, such as Super Later Boys, early seasons of Super Gamer Book Club, and help support the show. We'll talk more about that later on in the show here. But for now, I want to give a huge shout out to Jack Sriracha, Yate, and DJ Trooz for allowing us to use their music on our show. This evening, we are listening to good old Yate and Yate and Jack Sriracha. A little playlist I got there. So it's a good one. You should add them to your playlist over on Apple Music and Spotify. Links will be in the show descriptions if you're listening on podcast apps and watch on YouTube. Check it out. All right. It's now time to check the mail.
Fire it up. They ain't getting out of it today.
Yeah, we actually have a real question. So here we go. Let's boot them on up.
What's up, fellas? Long time no see. I trust you've been doing well without me carrying the show. Well, you can rest easy now. Let's get to the questions.
Whoa. Carrying the show? All right. Okay. I mean,
the people do come for the bot, man. I'm just saying.
People love
I've
the
heard
bot.
it said.
When are we getting Super Gamer Bot merch?
You joke.
Just says people love the bot.
People love the bot.
It's just a picture of Super Gamer Bot. That's what we need to do.
That means we have to show people what they actually look like. You know, we've only been able to see them because they're, we have a personal little terminal that we can see them through. So we'd have to show people what they look like.
Well, a little peek behind the curtain here. It sounds like we need to conceptualize what this box looks like. Look,
you're breaking the illusion. What are you doing?
I might not know what Super Gamer Bot looks like either. To be honest, I mean, you're the one. You bring the questions to me. So you
That's
work.
fair.
So you work with Super Gamer Bot. I just get the sass. I get to raw into this whole deal, okay?
I mean,
you work with them, and then I get the.
Well, hang on now. You know, Super Game Robot does serve a whole lot of functions. They are, you know, our, they do get field our questions. They are, you know, the entire hard drive basically, or storage for the Super Game Boy's operation. So let's not act like they don't have any. Did that come off of your wall? Did that panel fall off of your wall?
I thought I saw something in the camera. I was like, what is behind me? Yeah, this is one of my wall panels. Just straight up just fell off the wall. So
what
I guess I need
world?
to put that back up there. Yeah, up at the top. Actually, there's two other ones. One's almost down and the other one's missing too.
You know what happened? It probably got so hot in your room that the glue or whatever adhesive you used melted.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, we were gone for a week in Seattle and it was still 100 and something here, so it was probably,
and that tile was like,
melted.
Actually, I'm done. No,
right
thank you. But yeah, Super Game Robot they're our full storage. Like we store all our files and recordings and
they
everything
charge
on
us a
them.
premium for it too. They charge us.
I'm just saying they are a very integral part of the operation. So
okay, all right. I'll stop bagging on Super Game Robot. Super Game Robot, would you mind giving us that first question from Sir Prince-A-Lot?
Sir Prince-A-Lot asks, what would be the gaming world equivalent of Post Malone releasing a country album? Basically, a developer entering a totally different genre.
Okay, all right. So yeah, Post Malone putting out a banger country album wasn't on anyone's bingo card, right? What would be the equivalent? That's interesting.
I got a great one.
Okay, give it to me.
It's Retro Studios. They went from making Metroid Prime, right? A first-person, dark and gloomy and atmospheric shooter. And they went and made Donkey Kong Country. A bright and colorful 2D platformer.
Yeah. Can I go with a more recent one? Tango Gameworks.
Yes.
Making Evil Within and Ghostwire
Going
Tokyo,
to Hi-Fi Rush.
and then making Hi-Fi Rush, making like one of the like borderline like Evil Within is up there with like Outlast with like the gore and the like just how nasty the game is, and then they're like, let's make Hi-Fi Rush. This is a fun game.
Want to make an anime-inspired rhythm game that's cel-shaded and colorful and has a bunch of punk rock in it?
Yeah, wild, absolutely wild. Yeah, I think those two are very good ones. You're right. I didn't even think of Retro. It was originally Metroid and then Donkey Kong, like dark sci-fi, and then like a couple of monkeys.
Let's make them go get the bananas, huh? Go collect some bananas.
Go get the bananas. I mean, and then even like Banjo-Kazooie too, right? That was Retro.
That was Rare.
Oh, Rare. Wait a second. Didn't Rare did Donkey Kong as well though, then, right?
Rare did the original Donkey Kong Countries, and then Retro did Donkey Kong Country Returns.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay. Yeah, that is a little bit of a pivot. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else. Anyone else who's done like such a 180-degree pivot like that?
Maybe Gorilla.
From Killzone to like Horizon.
Yeah,
a little bit like third person, or was that even first person shooter? Was that first person shooter?
Yeah, Killzone was first person
shooter to like third person over the shoulder,
third person action,
like open world game. Yeah,
I think that. Oh no, I got a good one. What's the team making Fable? Didn't they used to make Forza?
Oh. The new Fable, you mean?
Yeah. It's not Turn 10, it's the other ones.
Yeah. Playground games?
Playground. I think yeah.
Yeah, they're known for Forza Horizon.
Because Turn 10 makes regular Forza, right? And Playground makes Horizon.
Yeah. So Playground, who made the Forza Horizon games, is making the new Fable.
There you go. That's a huge pivot.
Yeah, that's massive to go from like racing sim to like, all right, let's make this open world fantasy game.
You want to make this adventure game? This adventure fantasy game? Sir, we model cars here.
I mean, in a sense, even though it never fully came out, well, no, it doesn't really count because it wasn't.
Go ahead. We can.
Well, no, because technically Konami had other like horror or like dark games. In my head, I was thinking
PT.
But in my head, I was thinking Kojima. Like his lineage has always been like more like action type games, and then they'd like come out with PT. Everyone was like, "What the heck? Like, where did this come from?" So that's less of a developer and more of like a specific writer and director. But that was kind of surprising to everyone. But also everyone's like, "Oh, this was perfect. Like he's too good at this."
Do you think the new people at Konami are pissed at how that situation went down with Kojima? Because at this point, everybody at Konami probably, like most people at Konami, have nothing to do with that whole beef that went down between whatever executives were at Konami and Kojima. And they're like, man, we could have still had them here and still have them making, whatever they want, like Metal Gears and all that.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they
Old
were.
Man has been screwed that all up.
They might have felt that way, but now, like, they are working on Metal Gear now. Granted, it's just remasters and remakes, so it's not quite the same. Like, they're not actually working with Kojima, but I don't know, still getting to kind of be a little bit of a piece of that legacy. Like, maybe it's a little better now, but I would be upset, that's for sure, if I got a good job at Konami, knowing like, oh man, like I was, I could have been working with him. Yeah, I don't know. That would be tricky. Now, from what I understand, like even the people who had beef before, like they're not even there, right? Like from what I understand, like,
I don't think anybody from that whole like saga is really there anymore, or they're in a position that they could, make effective changes or decisions at this point.
Right.
So all that for nothing, pretty much. And now Konami's back to making games. So what did we gain? Because they pivoted back hard from the pachinko. I'm sure they could still do pachinko, but now they're back making games like they should be.
You know what we gained? Kojima Productions and Death Stranding. That's what we gained. And
you don't think Konami would have let him make Death Stranding?
No, I do not think so. They're barely making games now, Adrian. All right?
You know what?
They're barely making games.
If them barely making games is Metal Gear Solid Delta, I think he would have had a chance.
No, they would like he would have just been working on Delta, doing a remake of his own game, like, right?
I don't think he's not that kind of guy. I feel like once he does something, he's like, I'm not going back to it. You know what I mean? Yeah,
no, that's pretty true. He's made that very clear. He's like, once I'm done with it, I'm done. Like I don't go back.
Because he didn't do Twin Snakes. He didn't do any of the Master collections. He didn't advise on those. So yeah, once something ships, that's it.
Yeah.
Next thing.
But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they would have given him the reins to do Death Stranding. Maybe an OD, just because like obviously OD would have just been PT. I think PT would have continued, but otherwise, yeah, I don't know. I think he's better off doing this. I'm glad that he's on his own, because he really can just go buck wild whatever he wants to do, and I love it. I love every second of it. On the plane ride back from Seattle, I was playing Death Stranding on my Steam Deck. So much fun. I love it. I haven't played it in so long, and I never actually played all the way through the director's cut, so it was fun to like get into that. And I haven't gotten into too much the new different stuff, but I'm surprised at how well that runs on the Steam Deck. Like, it's insane. It's such a massive, beautiful game, and it looks very good on the Steam Deck. It's crazy.
I'm so tempted to like just put it back on my phone and play it like that, because I feel like that's the only way that I can play it on something that I have with me. You know what I mean? And just use the backbone with it. Yeah. Because I'm still flabbergasted that runs on a phone.
Absolutely.
I don't know how Kojima Productions made that port happen, but they did.
Now that I have a job, I need to buy it on phone, because that's like always been my claim to fame, is like I own every version of Death Stranding on every console. Like I own it on the Epic Game Store and on Steam and on PS4 and on PS5, both Director's Cut and stand, like everything. I got disc versions, but iPhone is the only one I don't have. It's because like it came out when I about to be unemployed. I'm like, I shouldn't spend like $30 or whatever it was on this. So I held off. But now I got
it's your Power Wash Simulator. It's like me. I have Power Wash Simulator on everything you can have it on.
Yeah.
And I will continue to buy it on everything that you can have it on. Which again, Future Lab, I don't know what's taking you so long to put it on iOS. If you can run Death Stranding.
Yeah. That should 100%.
What are we doing?
I wouldn't be surprised if like at the, because they always do a big announcements at Summer Game Fest, and then they always do a big announcement at Game Awards. I could totally see now that, you know, because that was just this year that iOS got full games like that. Like it's not even been a full year since that happened with Resident Evil, with Death Stranding, and there was a third one, right? I forget what the third one was. Like there's three big ones.
RE4.
It was RE8.
Death Stranding.
Did RE4
RE8.
come?
Oh, and that new Assassin's Creed.
Okay, yeah. So it's one of those things where now that, okay, like this is the first year, like this is happening. I could see it like this December being like available now or coming soon, you know, in the next like couple months.
Well, whenever they do, I'm pre-ordering it.
Well, have to wait and see. All right, let's get on to this next question. We don't have anything from Super Gamer Bot on this one because this was written in on our website through our form from good old Ranger. A rapid Ranger thought. Have you boys ever looked up trophy data and analyzed the statistics? I can't say I have. That's not usually what I do in my free time. It's going to be 100% clear.
My trophy data, yeah, but
well,
not the average.
I have been shocked over the years to find out a huge portion of gamers never complete or finish most games. Often the completion percentages of extremely popular games can hover around 10 to 15%. What is this about? I liken this idea to going to a movie and walking out partially through the movie and accepting that you will simply never see the ending. Granted, a good portion of games are significantly long these days, but still, I kind of wonder why begin the journey if you know you will ultimately abandon the experience. Even if I'm feeling very attacked in this question, I'm going to be straight up.
Well, I mean, keep reading. We'll figure it out.
Even if I have to pause a game for a bit, I always make a tremendous effort to continue later, and some games are finished months or even a year later. If I recall correctly from an episode many moons ago, Garrett shamefully confessed he rarely ever finishes games.
There is the call out.
My questions for the week are, what is the meaning behind this? Do you fear developers look at this data and think, why should we make single-player finite game experiences? Is Garrett's lack of commitment to finish the story killing single-player games in favor of live service games? Wow, he straight up just blames live service games on me. Okay, Ranger, I see how it is. P.S. Yes, boys, I am playing Astrobot. Very good. But I will also confess something of my own. Star Wars Outlaws just keeps pulling me back in as a package. It's an amazing Star Wars experience. That's very good to hear because I feel like I haven't heard a lot of good about Star Wars Outlaws. I haven't heard, like,
I feel like it came and went.
It's mostly just been neutral. Like I've just heard a lot of new, like it's fine. And then, yeah, like you said, it kind of came and went. So to know like it is worth picking up at some point. That's kind of exciting that I have that.
I think I said it. I said it too. Yeah, I think I said it last time. Second it hits $30-$35, I'm on it. 100%. Because as long as it's I think the consensus was it was like a 7 out of 10, right? For $35, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Or when Twitch
or if
Prime,
it goes to
Twitch Prime gives it away for free. I mean,
Ubisoft does have a lot of games that go up on that.
Oh, a nonstop. I'm always getting like Ubisoft games, Twitch Prime given away for free, or PlayStation Plus given away for free. Like Plucky Squire, that game just came out. It's free on PlayStation Plus. I'm like, heck yeah, I love it.
Thank you.
So I'll start answering this since I was so just brutally attacked here. No,
accosted.
Okay, just absolutely accosted. For me, I'm going to be honest, and I'm trying to do better about this. I don't know if you've noticed, those of you who are in the Discord would notice, I guess, because you can see our backlog channel where I actually, everyone puts in when they finish a game. We do a little competition on there. Whoever finishes the most game in a year wins solo prize. Anyways, I've been finishing a lot more games, like the last couple of years, really. Like I've been making a huge effort to finish games as much as possible. There's still a lot of games I start and then don't finish. But I think for me, the reason I do that a lot of times is for two reasons. 2.5 reasons, if that makes sense. The first reason is, and Carrie kind of mentions it in the chat, there are too many amazing games to make myself waste my time finishing a game that I'm not enjoying. So sometimes I just straight up don't enjoy the game. Like I think I'm gonna like it, I play it, and I'm like, shoot, I don't like this. Why keep playing if I don't like it? The second one is just FOMO, and also having a video game podcast. Sometimes I feel like this weight, like I have to play games to talk about. Yeah, that I talk about on the show. I spend $60, $70 on a game that, Palworld was like $40, but we bought 2 copies of that a few months ago just so we could talk about on the show. And then it was like going into it, I knew like I probably wasn't gonna super love it. And then even playing it, I'm like, oh, this is fun. Like I did enjoy it, but again, it's not my type of game that I knew I was going to finish. But it's like I have to play it because everyone's talking about it. So here I am. Right. So there's like an obligation to it / FOMO. And then I forget what my half was. So I guess I just have 2 reasons. So yeah, it's either like, hey, why finish this if I don't enjoy it? Or it's like, I feel like I need to play it just to have an opinion on it at least. Or, I don't know, we get the hate comments all the time on YouTube. Like, just a few months ago, there was like about all the VR stuff. Like, how can you hate on PSVR 2 when you've never touched it? So even before that, I've already felt that weight of like, oh, I feel like if we have like a real a discussion about these games, we do need to play as many as we can within our budget, obviously. Right. And so that's what happens a lot of times with me. I guess my half point is sometimes I start a game with every intention to finish it, but then another game comes out around the same time, and then I just move on and forget about it until it's like years later. I'm like, oh, I never finished that game. I really loved it, and I was really stoked about it, but something else came out that took all of my time. And so, what was it? When like the first Horizon Zero Dawn came out, Resident Evil 2 remake, wasn't it? There's like Resident Evil 2 remake, I think, came out at the same time.
Around that same...
Or was it Resident Evil 7?
The first Horizon, Zelda came out.
That was the second one. The second one, Tears of the Kingdom, came out.
But I'm saying the first one did too.
Oh, so they hit him twice. So they hit him twice. Breath of the Wild came out with the first one, and Tears of the Kingdom came out with this. Okay, yeah. So that's what happened. I mean, even Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, I never finished because they're so massive. But I put like tons and tons and tons and tons of hours into it. I had started Horizon Zero Dawn. I'm like, okay, this might be something I finish. And then with Breath of the Wild coming out, I was like, oh, okay, this is way more fun. I'm gonna spend more time with this. So that's like my half point. Sometimes I just have every intention to finish, but it's like, oh, I find something else and move on and forget to go back. So as far as like do we fear developers look at this data and think, should we continue making single player finite? I mean, maybe. Like, I know if I was a dev if I was a dev and I saw like, oh, most people aren't even getting they're only getting like trophies for the first 3 or 4 missions of our game. Like, what's the point? I'm sure that can be discouraging. But I don't know. Like, how much weight do you think that actually holds? Like, because obviously, like, I'm sure a lot of people pick up the God of War and God of War Ragnarok or Last of Us and like play a little bit and then put it down and never finish it. But they're going to keep making those types of games. They're never going to hopefully stop. I hope Santa Monica Studios doesn't start making live service games. That would be,
if Naughty Dog was about to do it, anybody's liable.
That's true.
I think if I'm a smart developer, I understand that not everybody is gonna go for the trophies, right? So me personally, I'd be looking at game clear data. I would be looking to see how many people actually clear the game instead of using trophies as an indicator. Like how many people trigger whatever in-game cutscene.
Yeah.
Denotes the end of the game.
And that's kind of what I was referring to, because most game like chapters trigger a trophy. So I guess Ranger might have been talking about trophies as a whole. I guess what I was referencing.
That's what I thought.
What I was referencing was more like what you were saying of, well, yeah, what you just said of like, oh, like all right, well, they might have not got all the trophies, but they at least got the ones for finishing the game, or maybe they didn't. Like that's the thing. Like you can see that. You can be like, oh, only, the final gold trophy that pops, like, oh, how come only like 20% of people got this? Like that's not great. But I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
I think trophies are a fun elective, but me as a developer, I wouldn't put them in there I would put them in there knowing that this is something fun, and it's something for, if we have the resources to spare to do it, let's do it. It'll be a fun treat. They're always almost like a goodwill gesture.
Mm-hmm.
For every game, right? Like we don't have to put them in there necessarily. We are, but you shouldn't expect gamers as a whole to finish them.
Yeah. So I guess I'd be curious what exact data Rancho was looking at here. Because he just says often the completion percentages of extremely popular games can hover around 10 to 15%. Is he referring to the platinum trophy, or is he referring to just finishing the game trophies? Because those
are very different. Those are very different.
Because I could see like a game only having 10 to 15% platinum completion, but then like 80% or 70% like gold trophy, final level boss fight, trophy kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know if that answers that question. It definitely gets me kind of curious more in Star Wars Outlaws, though, that he keeps talking about it each and every week. He keeps bringing it up.
It does. Quite honestly, even though people are like, it's okay. I don't necessarily, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm like, you know what? This was a fun little time. It's classic Ubisoft, but where you're going around and unlocking the map and doing towers and all this. But maybe there's enough of a Star Wars spin to it, and maybe the story is good enough that I'm like, you know what? This was a fun little game. I would like to see more of this,
Yeah, totally. All right. Well, that is it for the mailbag. Now it's time for the nerdy nudes.
It's now time for the nerdy noob.
Did you do it?
What?
Did I catch you?
No, I said it.
I'll check the tape later.
You always accuse me of it.
It's because I can't know. There's no way to know. I don't know. The live chat doesn't know. You're the only one who knows until I edit this episode.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I guess you'll just have to see.
Just have to wait and see if I can catch you. All right. Anyways, this first news story comes to us from The Verge, written by Antonio G. Di Benedetto. That's quite the name. What's the real difference between the PlayStation 5 and the PS5 Pro anyway? That's what we're all wondering.
About 25%.
That's what we're all wondering here. After various rumors and leaks, the PlayStation 5 Pro is finally official, complete with the new GPU, $700 price point, and no built-in disk drive.
Oh my God.
But is that pretty much it? What makes this new console 40% more expensive than the existing PS5 you can buy today for $500? The same one that's bound to go on sale during the holidays, not long after the Pro's November 7th launch date. What are the differences between the PS5 and the PS5 Pro that make it, depending on who you ask, a worthwhile upgrade or a superfluous expense? The PS5 Pro has 3 core performance improvements over the standard PS5, according to Sony's technical presentation announcement hosted by the PS5 lead architect, Mark Cerny. It's got a new, more powerful GPU for more compute power and faster rendering, advanced ray tracing for improved in-game reflections, and more immersive lighting, and a new PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution upscaler to keep frame rates high without sacrificing resolution and image quality. The GPU is really the star of the show. As Sony is saying, it promises to have 67% more compute units and 28% faster memory, yielding 45% faster rendering. It's a whole lot of percents that don't add up to 100. But but the CPU and storage speed in the PS5 Pro is unchanged. So while it should deliver 4K resolution and maintain 60 FPS or greater, it's possible the console won't load or boot up games any faster. I mean, they already load up pretty fast. Can you really get any faster?
They're honestly quite lightning fast how fast games load nowadays. Like Astrobot levels load in 3 seconds. Have you ever timed it? It's always 3 seconds or less.
I never really timed it. I just love playing with the triggers for like the few seconds you have, because if you like play with the triggers, it does like little throttles on the. I love like an interactive load screen.
Of levels. Yeah, if they're loading whole portions of levels in 3 seconds, I have no complaints.
It's pretty good, pretty dang good. The biggest change for current PS5 owners is that playing on a PS5 Pro will no longer require choosing between performance and fidelity modes, a decision many current games force on users for either prioritizing frame rate smoothness or crisper visuals. But Sony could just move those goalposts with a PS5 Pro, since the upcoming console also supports 8K gaming. Hey, guess what? The box for my PS5 also says it supports 8K gaming, so I'm going to bring it up every time, okay? They can't just take it off the box and pretend that it was never there, because it was. I have it. My PS5 can supposedly play 8K. That's what they told me. If not, I'm taking them to court, suing them, false advertising. It's possible performance and fidelity modes will still be with us if playing games in 8K means once again sacrificing frame rate, which it's sure to do. The difference there is that most people will not care, because who the hell owns an 8K TV right now? As for ray tracing, that feature's been
no one.
Exactly, no one. That's a feature that's been supported in the PS5 since launch, but the PS5 Pro's advanced ray tracing is promising to make it better, with more dynamic reflections and light refractions. Basically, games with pretty lighting and lots of reflections should look a little bit better. Rejoice, Gran Turismo 7 fans. So far, ray tracing on the current PS5 has been a little lackluster compared to what's possible on PCs with high-end GPUs, which, to be fair, cost more than PS5 Pro on their own, but that's more to do with the games themselves and the console. Many titles aren't optimized for ray tracing on console, although there haven't been some PS5 standouts like Marvel's Spider-Man 2 that have a good ray tracing performance. PS5 Pro should just make them look better without compromising for the sake of frame rates. So that's, there's a lot more of this article that gets into the real nitty gritty here. The main thing though is the ray tracing, the PSSR, and just the ability to like not have to choose between performance or fidelity mode, which at first I was like, oh, who cares? Like, I always play in performance mode, and most of the times you can't really tell that it looks crappy, at least on my screens. But then I watched what's the name of that? The people who do all the pixel, like they get all the nitty gritty.
Digital Foundry?
Digital Foundry did a video on PS5 Pro with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Mm-hmm. And it was insane, like how good it looks, because it's 60 FPS with the crisper details. Because they did Rebirth dirty. Most games like look a little worse in performance mode, but not that bad. Like it's like, oh, it's just totally fine. There's nothing wrong with this. Rebirth was a little crappy, to be honest, in performance mode. Like it was blurry, fuzzy, all sorts of stuff. So when I watched the Digital Foundry video, I'm like, shoot, like I don't need a PS5 Pro, but that does look real dang good. But what were you going to say? What it comes down to?
Oh, I was going to say, here's what it comes down to. Basically with PS5 Pro, right? There's no way, again, we are going to get anywhere near regular PC specs, right?
Right.
So do you want Do you want ray tracing at 30? Or do you want, I mean, basically, do you want ray tracing at 1440p at 30? Or do you want ray tracing at 1080p at 60? Because that's all you're going to get.
Yeah, because that's the whole point of the PSSR is, even though it's outputting at 4K or even 8K, PSSR is just AI upscaling. So it's taking a 1440p or 1080p picture and then just making it look like it's 4K or 8K. It's not actually 4K or 8K, which is exactly what PCs do. Don't get me wrong. Like that's on NVIDIA, it's called DLSS. On AMD cards, it's called FSR. That's the reason you can play like these crazy games on a Steam Deck, because you can use FSR, like the AI upscaling. But it I don't know. Yeah, it just seems like a lot of extra money to pay for just such a minor thing. Like it's just, and there's nothing wrong with getting one. Like if you got the cash and that's something you care about, great. Like I want to be extremely clear about that. Like like if you want to get one, great, fantastic. But for at least for me personally, and I feel like for both of us, it's almost like I'm pretty happy and content with what I'm getting now. Like, why spend $700 on this thing that like barely pushes the needle? And I love that this article mentions it too, is, well, those goalposts will just keep moving. Like once you give those developers more power, they're just gonna make games that are bigger. So then you still have to choose between performance or fidelity mode on your PS5 Pro, and the game is just more pretty or more frames. Like it's only a short window where you're getting both, right? Like that's ultimately what's gonna happen. It's like you're just gonna get this short window where, okay, like, all right, you get your cake and eat it too, and then it's like, oh, just kidding. You still have to choose because now the games are bigger and more beautiful, but you can't have both now. Sorry. I don't know. So it just seems crazy to jump into that ecosystem.
You're still choosing, and that's my problem.
I mean, that's what they're saying. You shouldn't have, you're not good. They're advertising it. You don't have to choose. But again, we all know that's not true. Within a year, games are going to be pushing the limit of the PS5 Pro. And then we're right back where we started. So I just, this is, I do want to say, this is cool technology. Like, I'm not mad that this exists. Like, I'm glad that they've developed it, more so for the future, for like PS6. So like when PS6 comes out, they already have, at that point, they go from PSSR to PSSR2, like whatever the new version of this AI upscaling is, so it can do it even better, more efficiently, less power, to do better quality. I'm excited about like, just again, like I don't know, in a lot of ways it's setting a good groundwork for PS6. It just feels like this isn't a worthy step forward for like a half step for like a pro console here. When PS5 Pro came out, I felt like I needed that, because my PS4 was sounding like a freaking jet engine playing a lot of those games. And let me tell you, my PS4 Pro sounded like a jet engine playing some of those games as well. Like playing Last of Us Part 2 on my PS4 Pro. It struggled. It struggled even to do that. Like that was borderline a PS5 game that we all got on PS4, which was amazing. But so the PS4 Pro, like to me, like really felt like a worthwhile upgrade, where this one just, I'm not feeling it. I don't know. Do you have specific thoughts on why you're not feeling it? Like, because that's at least from what I understand. Or do you have? Is there a chance you would pick this up if A, B, or C happened, kind of thing?
I would pick this up if there was a crazy trade-in deal on the original model, like if they were giving you like $450 for it.
That's true.
Then we can talk about, possibly doing an upgrade, which nobody in their right mind is going to do, because you're not going to buy it from me for $400 and then only make $100 profit as a store.
Right.
So that's out. I am still on the fence of, or not on the fence, but on the hill of, I don't think that these developers have tapped PS5 in its entirety yet.
No, that's another point. That's a good point.
Right. And I think that
Like I just mentioned, my PS4 was screaming, and like the fan was like about to ready to rip off the back of the system. Is like running so hard. My PS5 has never gotten to that point where like barely like I don't think I've ever heard the fan kick on. So no, yeah, you can continue, but that's a great point.
Yeah. But in this instance, yeah, I don't think that they've really tapped PS4 or PS5 all the way to the metal like they have for PS3, because we're only 4 years in.
Yeah.
I think that developers have a lot more, especially with Unreal 5 coming into the picture, and how much more that they're showing that developers can get out of it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see way more intensive or visually impressive or mechanically sound games here in these next couple of years, now that developers have had a chance to really dig into Unreal 5 or any other competing engines that have that technology now. But yeah, I think it's not enough of a jump for me from PS5 to warrant that. Like, I'm not having an issue with my PS5 to be like, I can't enjoy games on PS5. Now, like you said, if there was an issue with the hardware where it's too loud, or it doesn't, the hard drive is too slow, or there's bad connectivity with it that is improved in the Pro model, then I would definitely consider something like that. But PS5 as a whole right now is a really solid unit, and I feel like the Pro upgrade is just, it's icing on the cake, right? It's the premium experience, and I'm good where I'm at. I am content with the regular hardware.
Also, on top of that, I feel like there's also, I mean, we talk about this all the time. We sound like broken records, but there's also just a lack of games on PS5. I played my PlayStation 5 in 2023, last year. I played less than 10 hours in the entire year on my PS5. Like, that's insane. That I didn't play more than like I think I only had I know I had at least less than 10, because you had to, that's the minimum you had to have to get a PlayStation Wrapped, like whatever their end of the year thing. I didn't even get one of those because I had less than 10. And I actually went and looked. I think I only had like 5 or 6 total. A couple hours doing like the Final Fantasy 16 demo, and like a couple hours doing this and that, and then like that was it. So it seems wild to me also to like, hey, let's go ahead and get the PS5 Pro. This is a console that I literally didn't touch in 2023, the entire year. And then, not that games didn't come out last year, but there were so many other, like last year was a great year in gaming, like for everything. So I had like so much on my Steam Deck and on Switch and everything. Right. But like in general though, like we've talked about it in general, there are just a lack of games on PS5 as far as first party exclusives. Like a lot of these games that are coming out on PS5, I can play other places. That's
my big issue.
And so it's like, I'm playing on my Steam Deck, I'm playing on Switch, where PS5 exclusives, there's only been a small handful, and even then, I haven't felt like super pressed to have to play them. Like I want to. I still haven't played Spider-Man 2. I want to play Spider-Man 2 so bad, but you know what? I haven't played it, which is crazy.
Right.
But all right,
Carrie,
like that's it.
Carrie
That's
in the
it.
chat
That's all
real
I
quick.
got.
She said, I disagree there. I think PS5 has amazing games, but that's me.
Oh, they're great games.
They're great games.
The ones that come out are amazing.
Right. When we say games, I don't know. I guess I can speak for both of us, but my qualifier for PS5 having a game is, it is a game that Sony made from the ground up for PlayStation 5.
Right.
It's not a cross-gen title. It's not a timed exclusive. It's not, you know what I mean? And even if it does go to PC, it was originally built with the intention to be for PlayStation 5 hardware, right? So like a Ratchet and Clank, or Returnal, or Demon Souls, or what's another one that is only on PS5?
Spider-Man 2 was only on PS5.
Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 2 was built for PS5.
But like so many of the other games came out on PS4 as well. So it's like,
Gran Turismo was on PS4, God of War was on PS4, Horizon was on PS4. Oh yeah, and Astrobot.
Astrobot.
Yeah, Astrobot was
exactly.
built ground up for PS5. So that's what, only 6 games really?
Over 4 years.
For over 4 years for a $400 to $500 console. I don't feel like I've gotten my money's worth yet, because that's not even the cost of the console made back at that point.
Right. And not to say like the PS5 versions of those games that came out on both aren't better, because like you look at like
no, they are.
Horizon Forbidden West like is gorgeous on PS5, but it's
the split development and the split resources. They let me know that this game was not developed with just PS. Like they can't push this game because the divide would be too big between the PS5 version that they push all the resources for and the PS4 version. They have to make them look comparable so that people don't get pissed off and be like, well, why does the PS4 one look so bad and this one looks so awesome? Because then nobody's gonna buy the PS4 one. So that's the rub right there. So yeah, that's what we mean is that, if Sony made it, and it has, if a PlayStation studio made a first party game strictly for PS5, like they built it knowing this is a PS5 game, we are going to use the SSD, we're going to use the GPU, all that. That's what we count as like a game, Yeah.
Because there's tons of games that come out on PS5.
There's plenty of
that
games
are
on
great.
PS5 for sure.
But
there's not a lot of PS5 games.
Yeah, exactly. PS5 exclusive, built from the ground up for it. Surprisingly, like people, which I mean, I don't blame them. Like there's still a huge install base for PS4. Like I don't, like I can't.
I do blame them. I do blame them actually. It's 2020. It's 11 years old. I do blame them.
That's true. They every other
You've gotten
console,
your fair share money's worth. It's been time.
That's true. Every other console generation, they've done a pretty hard cut. And this one, they're like, yeah, it's fine. We'll just keep going.
Right.
But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we haven't gotten a PS5 game other than Astrobot in a long time. And we're not going to get one until like summer of next year. Like they said, after like April or March or something of next year. So hopefully with this new wave of games, if they start releasing some, actually, they'll start just being PS5 exclusive games. That'd be great, but we'll have to wait and see. All right. I think we're good to move on to this next news story here.
Sweet.
This next one's from PC Gamer, written by Ted Litchfield. New report sheds light on Annapurna Interactive implosion while the parent company says it's focused on moving forward, hiring to fill the vacancies, and still working on the Blade Runner game, whose devs just walked out the door. It's quite the headline. Following the shocking mass resignation of publisher Annapurna Interactive's entire 25-person staff, a new report from IGN has provided more details about the gaming division's dispute with its parent company, Annapurna Pictures, and its billionaire owner, Megan Ellison. Anonymous former employees shared concerns about the interactive division's future under Annapurna Pictures and claimed that Ellison refused to continue working with them on an agreement to spin off the division. Spokespeople for the parent company claim that the division's leader failed to respond to their efforts to move the process forward. Annapurna Interactive was founded as a gaming-focused subsidiary of Ellison's Annapurna Pictures in 2016, tapping veteran gaming talent, including former Sony employees Nathan Gary and Hector Sanchez. After a run of producing successful films like The Master, Her, Zero Dark 30, Annapurna Pictures began to struggle financially in the late 2010s. The interactive division, meanwhile, enjoyed continued success with games like Stray, Outer Wilds, and Neon White. Gary was named president of Annapurna Pictures overall in 2021, but a source that spoke to IGN alleged his focus remained on the gaming side of the company. After having remained hands-off with Annapurna for several years, following its late 2010 struggles, IGN reports that Ellison initiated a leadership shakeup in March. With conflicting accounts as to what precisely happened in the interactive division, anonymous former members claim that Nathan Gary was fired, while an Annapurna spokesperson says he resigned in response to other staff changes, as well as his effective demotion from being the head of Annapurna overall to once again just leading Annapurna Interactive. At this point, talks began between Gary and Ellison to spin Annapurna Interactive off into a more independent but still financially tied to Annapurna Pictures publisher called Verset. While negotiations moved forward, IGN sources were disturbed by some of Ellison's decisions and changes. Namely, Annapurna rehired founding Interactive executive Hector Sanchez as president of Interactive and New Media, within Annapurna Pictures, independent of and arguably in competition with the established interactive division. Annapurna Interactive employees say they were blindsided by Annapurna Pictures' publishing agreement with Remedy and Control 2. That's wild. Just to be like, wait, we're doing what? A partnership negotiated by Sanchez, with those employees only finding out about the Remedy deal the same day it was publicly announced. Annapurna spokespeople argued to IGN that the company always viewed Interactive Verset as an indie AA focus initiative, with Annapurna Pictures moving into the AAA space with Sanchez.
I didn't know they didn't know about it.
The Remedy deal.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, imagine that. It's like with everyone else finding out, like, oh, we're working on Control 2 and making movies and shows and games and this. Okay,
that's
cool.
Nuts.
Or publishing, I guess. It was a publishing partner, but
still.
IGN sources from the Interactive Division and Annapurna's spokespeople offer conflicting accounts of the final breakdown in negotiations, but Annapurna claims that Nathan Gary failed to respond after the company agreed to the outline of a deal earlier this year. Any implication Annapurna was backtracking on the deal is false, a company spokesperson said. We agreed to high-level deal terms and signed a term sheet in early April, which makes it all the more surprising that we never got a response. IGN sources dispute the narrative, allege that Ellison refused to negotiate while taking a more direct role in managing Annapurna Interactive in that time, and say that they gave 2 weeks' notice ahead of their September 6th mass resignation, a notice period Annapurna did not seem to use to either negotiate further or warn its developers of the coming disruption. Okay, so according to the people who walked out, they said they gave a 2 weeks notice. It wasn't just a walkout. They gave the 2 in. Man, what wildly different accounts of the same story. The company is saying we signed a deal and they never got back to us about, moving forward with it. And then the people who walked out are like, no, there was no deal. We gave a 2 weeks notice and they didn't respond to us. And so we walked out. Like, such a
Somebody's
mess.
lying.
Such a mess. Oh yeah, it gotta be. They're so drastically different. Like sometimes like two accounts can be similar and be like, all right, I can see where the truth might lie in the middle of these two. But these are so drastically different. There's no middle ground here. Like one person's flat out lying, and then the other group is like probably telling close to the truth. No one's going to tell the full truth, obviously. But while staff from Annapurna Pictures move in to handle the publisher's outstanding commitments to partner developers, one project has been left in a particularly absurd limbo: the internally developed Blade Runner 2033 Labyrinth. All of its full-time developers appeared to number among the 25 resignations, but Annapurna told IGN that development will continue, presumably under an entirely new team. An Annapurna spokesperson offered the final statement to IGN regarding the resignations. The whole situation is a baffler, but now we're focused on moving forward. We've had really great conversations with an overwhelming majority of our existing development teams and are grateful for their partnership. If our inbox is any indication, a ton of developers continue to want to be a part of what we're building, and we look forward to seeing their pitches. We've also had an influx of quality job applicants and are excited to build a team passionate about our mission to tell original stories that aren't being told elsewhere. P.S. We're hiring. Ooh, wow. What a
that pissed me off real bad. Wow. They said that, well, let me just make sure I have that right. That's the Annapurna bosses saying that, correct?
Yeah, that.
P.S. We're hiring.
P.S. We're hiring. Hey, we're excited to move forward with these new people we're hiring on. And yeah, even if they're the ones whose account is correct, like, and the people who walked out were just like totally false, ending the statement like that immediately kind of like negates any sort of like you may have been telling the truth, but that's scummy a little. Like, I don't know, it just seems like so like, I don't know, like underhanded. Maybe is the word I'm looking for. Like, right. You're a business. You don't need to be like taking shots like that in a press release, an official statement. What a disaster of a situation. I don't know how much opinion we have to share here, but it just seems wild to me. Again, I'll reiterate, we already said it before, but how vastly different the accounts are. Like it almost seemed like I don't even know like how they could be so different unless again like somebody's just
making it up,
flat out lying. Because on one hand they're saying like we signed a deal, like we were ready to move forward, and then the other one's like we weren't even close to signing a deal, they weren't listening to us, and we even gave a 2 weeks notice and they didn't know we were going to quit. How like it almost seems like both of them are lying. Honestly, reading through this, it kind of sounds like everyone's just lying. Like no one is telling the truth.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like I don't know who I can trust here. Like can I trust the people who walked out? Can I trust the company? Like I feel like I can't trust either of them, because that seems bonkers crazy that both of those situations would happen. Like they would sign a deal and then the people who wanted the deal wouldn't move forward with it, and then the other side, like how could Annapurna say they had no idea all these people were going to walk out when supposedly they got a 2 weeks notice? Like, I don't know. It's a mess. It's a disaster.
I mean, at the end of the day, whoever actually is telling the truth is going to come out.
Yeah.
So we just have to be patient and wait and see what's going to happen. And once the truth comes to life, then we can make our judgments there. Regardless, my support is still with the people who were let go. That's really what I care about in this situation.
Well, they walked out. They weren't let go. They quit.
Well, you know what I mean? The people that left.
They walked out. Yeah.
Or who were basically like, forced out. So I'm still hoping that they land on their feet. So we'll keep it going there.
I also, it's so crazy to believe. Like, imagine coming into work and seeing the news like, hey, Annapurna is going to be publishing all this new Remedy stuff, and finding out about it that way, like going to work and be like, wait, what? Like,
right.
I don't know. Things like that take a long time to broker those deals. And usually in most studios, I guess I would assume a lot of people would be involved in that. So it seems crazy. Like how would nobody know? How would the whole studio like not know about that deal? Like that's another thing. It kind of is like a little bit of a red flag. It's like, okay, like could they not know at all? Unless it really was just a, back of a napkin kind of deal. Like they just, what's his name sat down with like the head of Remedy at a bar and it's like, hey, let's do this. And like, okay, like, I don't know what kind of weird deal is going on over there that no one else knew about it. Yeah, such a bizarre situation. I really just feel though for like, obviously it sucks for the people who walked out who now don't have jobs. They felt that they're only like in this situation, their best chance was to just leave. Like that's sad. That sucks, obviously. But I also feel really bad for all the businesses who, both big and small, because Annapurna is a publisher and they deal with bigger studios like Remedy, but they also deal with a lot of indie studios. And like, imagine having your game like about to be published by Annapurna, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, the publishing team's gone. Like you as an indie studio, like, or even if you're not an indie studio, but just a smaller studio, like being like, okay, well, what does that mean for my game? Like you say you're going to move forward and figure this out, but it takes time to hire people, train people, get them all orientated. Like, all right, maybe what if the game was supposed to come out in the next few months and now is this not? Like, or it can't. Or if it does, it might just be a disaster. I feel really bad for people who had like projects either in the works or, close to finish, because that's not like an overnight thing. You can just bring in a team and fix this, This takes time. So I don't know.
We'll just have to see.
I hope they figure it out. I hope it doesn't hurt any of, if there are indie developers out there who are working with them, I hope it doesn't hurt them too bad, because, it's bad enough when, we keep hearing about all these layoffs and stuff with these big studios. It's like, it sucks, but they have thousands of employees. It's like, all right, well, if all of a sudden an indie studio is not able to make ends meet because they can't get their game launched on time, well, that might be someone's livelihood. Like, that sucks. So hope they figure it out soon. All right. This last news story comes to us from IGN, written by Wesley Yinpool. Nintendo versus Palworld. Killer patent may be about the mechanic of catching Pokemon. That's right. Following Nintendo and the Pokemon Company's shock patent lawsuit against Palworld developer Pocket Pair and Pocket Pair's subsequent statement claiming it had no idea which patents it's accused of infringing, analysts believe they've worked out which patent Nintendo plans to use to win its case. So if you haven't heard, kind of a little bit background to the story, Nintendo announced it was going to be filing a lawsuit against Palworld devs, an injunction against infringement and compensation for damages on the grounds that Palworld, a game developed and released by the defendant, infringes multiple patent rights. That's all that Nintendo tweeted out. Didn't really elaborate on what patents, what's going on. And then Palworld responded and just said,
nuh-uh.
Regarding the lawsuit, yesterday a lawsuit was filed against your company. We received a notice of lawsuit and begin appropriate, blah, blah, blah. At this moment, we're unaware of the specific patents we're accused of infringing upon, and we have not been notified of such details. We're a small indie games company based in Tokyo. Our goal as a company has always been to create fun games. We'll continue to pursue the goal. It's unfortunate. I'm paraphrasing, but yeah, it's truly unfortunate we will be forced to allocate significant time to matters unrelated to game development due to the lawsuit. Absolutely crazy. I mean, we all know they have the money though to pay for this lawsuit, right? Like, wasn't that we talked about that on the podcast like a couple months ago, where they had made like millions of dollars, and literally in an interview were like, we don't know what to do with the money. Like, we have so much money, we don't know what to do with it. Well, now you know what to do with it. Hopefully you put it in a savings account, because now you're going to need it. So
I think this was just their roundabout way to find some way to sue them, because they were upset that, you know, they got outsmarted by Palworld, and Palworld was able to make a hit and rake in the dough, you know, off of their IP, you know, in a roundabout way. And there was nothing they could do about it head on. So they were like, where can we hit them? Yeah. Mechanics. That's it. And went ahead and did that. So
yeah, so that's
my take on it.
That's what this article kind of jumps into. So Kiyoshi Kurihara, a Japanese patent attorney and consultant on intellectual property, spoke to Yahoo Japan on the lawsuit and pointed it to a killer patent that revolves around the mechanic of catching Pokemon itself. It seems like it would be hard to avoid if you want to make a Pokemon-like game, and it's easy to infringe if you're not careful, Kurihara is quoted as saying. In general gameplay terms, Palworld's survival and crafting mechanics are more of those of Ark than Pokemon. After Palworld's huge launch earlier this year, comparisons were made between Palworld's Pals and Pokemon, with some accusing Pocket Pair of ripping off Pokemon designs. But rather than file a copyright infringement lawsuit, Nintendo and the Pokemon Company have gone down the patent route. Kurihara identified 4 divisional patent applications that Nintendo and the Pokemon Company jointly registered after. Oh, interesting. So these patents came out after Palworld. They've been setting this up. They've been setting this up for a while.
All right, Nintendo.
The jointly registered after Palworld's launch in January. A divisional patent contains isolated content from an already registered parent patent. Okay, so there's an already registered parent patent that kind of like has part of it, and then they completed it with the one later this year or earlier this year. Patent number 7545191 describes aiming a capture item, Pokeball, at a character placed on the field Pokemon, releasing the capture item in a direction determined by player input, judgment of whether capturing is successful or not upon contact between the capture item and Pokemon, and changing of the Pokemon status to owned by the player when capturing is successful. In addition, the patent also covers the mechanic of having capture probability displayed to the player, regardless of whether it uses colors, graphics, or numbers, which Palworld has. There's like a little percentage of like what the probability is of catching a Pokemon. So that patent, alongside 3 related others, were not only approved in August, which might help explain why it's taken so long for Nintendo to announce its lawsuit. The parent patent of the 4 divisional patents was registered in December of 2021. Thus, Automaton points out, are legally effective against Palworld, which launched in January of 2024. So an original patent, they don't really talk about what the original parent patent is. But they were able to piggyback with these 4 like branches here that they just filed this year after Palworld. That's wild. Imagine that being like, ooh, we could sneak this in here and then catch them with the pants down. Absolutely wild. Absolutely
grimy.
bonkers crazy.
Grimy.
Yeah, that's a little grimy of Nintendo. Which, I mean, Nintendo
Just take
does...
your L, man. Like, you already have so many other things that you're winning on. Just hold the L for this one and move on. Now you're giving them even more eyes.
Right? I know.
Which means they're going to sell even more copies. You maniacs. You should have just let it go.
Just let it go. Let it go.
Too late.
Yeah, I hadn't read that last part until just now, and now it's like, oh shoot, like that's really scummy. I didn't really have too much of an opinion on this before, but now I'm like, oh shoot. Like initially my feeling was kind of like, well, Palworld was playing with fire, it was bound to happen. But hearing that Nintendo is being kind of like scummy about it, I'm like, oh well, I don't know. Like Nintendo's kind of
quick, we got the patent, sue them.
Yeah, exactly. They're both kind of Palworld was kind of asking for it, but Nintendo
went about it in a slimy way,
above and beyond to kind of like, all right, we got them now, boys.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Was there any more?
I don't think there's much more you can get out of it.
I was just looking at the article to make sure there was no new statements from them. So yeah, just as the original statement saying, hey, we apologize to our fans and supporters. We're going to work through this and figure it out. My thought is like, all right, they win or lose a lawsuit. Like say they lose, like they straight up just stop selling the game, or do they patch out that mechanic? Like they just functionally change the entire game in order to keep it up.
If they're resourceful enough to get around their designs and like kind of play in their face about it, then they're resourceful enough to figure out how to get around the capture mechanic. Maybe they'll just use traps or something like Monster Hunter. I don't know.
Right.
But they'll figure it out.
Instead of spheres, instead of a Pokeball, it's like cubes. Mm-hmm. And instead of having to hit the monster, there's like a target that is above the screen that they have to throw the ball at the cube at or something stupid. I don't know. Absolutely bonkers crazy. Very on one hand, it's like I get trying to protect your IP. Like I wouldn't have faulted Nintendo for suing them over the designs.
Right. That makes sense. But anything else, it's a mechanic.
Like,
you can't, unless it's like, I don't know. You can't sue people over game mechanics. It doesn't work like that. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean,
you didn't design that mechanic.
Right. That was like before the show. I was like, so can I just go out and patent like making peanut butter and jelly sandwich, like smearing a substance on the bread with a knife? Like, can I patent that? And then every time someone makes a sandwich, they got to pay me money. Like, is that how that works?
You probably can't because it's so widespread. Like, you know how Kleenex is having a hard time with their trademark because everybody calls tissues Kleenexes.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think the act of making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich is so widespread throughout humanity that you wouldn't be able to patent it. It just would be I forgot what the term for that is.
No, totally. I agree with you. It's totally absurd and stupid, but so is what Nintendo just did. So that's how I'm feeling.
I hear you.
It's like, I'm sure, like, that's like saying like songs today are 100% completely original. It's like songs at this point, like every song's been written, every chord progression, lyrical kind of formation, like they've all been done in one way or another in the past. I'm sure we've been around for we've been around a long time. I feel quite a few times around the sun here. I'm pretty sure someone in humanity at some point has made a song very similar to a lot of stuff we're even here today. Maybe not the same instruments, not using the same technology, but chord progressions, lyrical type things. I don't know. It's funny. Anyways, that is it for the nerdy nudes. And now it is time for our Patreon ad.
Roll it.
All right, this is a part of the show where I tell you to go over to patreon.com/supergamerboys, where you can support us starting at just $1 a month. That's right, $1 gets you episodes early and ad-free, such as this show, as well as Patreon exclusive shows like Super Later Boys, which we need to do one soon. Now that like we actually have stuff to talk about. It's hard to keep up with Super Later Boys when it's like, oh, I'm unemployed, I don't have anything going on, and you were like, I'm just working. Like you had just gotten employed, so you were like, I'm just working, trying to catch up. But yeah, we have about 6 episodes out right now, and I mean, always stay tuned because you never know when we might drop one. You can also get access to Patreon exclusive shows such as, like I said, Super Later Boys and earlier seasons of Super Gamer Book Club. And then we also have, I mean, everything is on there. Our entire archive of ad-free, whether it's Super Dungeon Boys, Super Gamer Boys, Super Gamer Book Club, get everything ad-free over there. So that's just $1. You get all that right off the bat. Above that, we got our $5 tier. You get that previous perk and the show notes, so you know exactly what we're going to be talking about. You can see the news stories, the questions, what you're playing, everything. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, ideas, opinions, throw them on the doc as a comment, and we will read it here on the show. It is so much fun when we do get those. We rarely get them, and it's always a joy. So please, if you support us at $5 or above, check out those show notes each and every week. If you have thoughts on the PS5 Pro, would you buy one, and why? Leave your comment. You could have left your comment on there. If there's a game you've been playing or what you're playing, leave your comment there. We'd love to give you a little mini review of something. So think about supporting us at $5. $10, you could be a Super Gamer sponsor, where you get all those previous perks and a big old shout out at the top of each and every episode. We love our sponsors. They are it's so fun reading those names each and every week. I really appreciate them. And then our top dog tier Patreon producer, $15 a month. You get all the previous perks and the ability, the possibility, I don't know, it's been a while since we've done the show. I'm trying to remember my wording on this. You can pitch us a segment. Ooh, watch my mouth there. You can pitch a segment for the show. If you have any ideas or thoughts, you're like, hey, I think it'd be cool if you guys did X, Y, or Z, or maybe you could have a cool something for social media. Maybe it's not during the show, but maybe it's something we do on Instagram Reels and TikToks and YouTube Shorts. Any sort of idea, we'd love to hear the pitch, and we might just go for it. That's how we got Super Indie Boys back in the day with Adrian. That's how we got Kajoma's Card Game Corner more recently. Even Super Dungeon Boys was kind of spun off from an original kind of pitch / idea from another supporter of ours. So as well as my love of just D&D already. So very, very exciting when we get a new Patreon producer over there. So think about supporting us there. patreon.com/supergamerboys. You can also support us at sgbstore.com. We got some merch over there. Summer collection is still up. You can get t-shirts, mugs, hats, everything. We very much appreciate all the love and support. We just were tagged in a post on Instagram. Someone's wearing their summer collection shirt, and it was so fun to see in the wild. So if you get our stuff and you're wearing it out about, please tag us in it. It was so pleasant to wake up and be like, oh, heck yeah, someone's actually wearing the stuff I designed. Very fun to see. And it helps support the channel as well. So sgbstore.com. Get some shirts, mugs, stickers, whatever, anything and everything. Go check it out. And last but not least, you can subscribe on Twitch, twitch.tv/thesupergamerboys. You can pay your own money, or you can get it for free. If you have Amazon Prime, you have Twitch Prime. You can link your Amazon account to your Twitch account, get that free Prime Gaming sub. If you haven't used it and you're listening right now, go over to twitch.tv/thesupergamerboys, go down, click subscribe with every Prime Gaming sub. It's completely free. Cost you $0, and we still get our normal cut of the sub from Twitch. So think about supporting us over there. If you love what we do, we want to get access to our emotes and ad-free viewing, so that way you don't have to deal with the ads that happen. We try to limit them, but typically about every hour they will pop up for about 2 minutes or so. So if you want to skip that, think about supporting us at twitch.tv/thesupergamerboys. Use that free sub. Otherwise, Jeff Bezos takes that money and buys another spaceship. All right, that's it for the ad. Let's get back to the show. All right, we are back, and it's time for me to ask you this question that I've been dying to ask you for weeks. And I haven't been able to because there's no way to communicate you. This is the only way we can communicate with each other. Outside of the show, I don't have Adrian's phone number. I can't text him. I can't call him.
This is the only time we communicate ever.
He's blocked me on social media, so I can't see any of his stuff.
Can't stand you.
So basically, I just sit here with Discord on until he calls me. I'm not even allowed to call him. He calls me.
Yeah.
And now I can communicate. So Adrian, I've been dying to know. It's been a couple weeks. What you playing?
You know exactly what I've been playing, my good man. There's only one game the world's playing right now.
And that's Warhammer Space Marine 2.
That is, of course.
Okay. No?
Astrobot.
Oh,
AKA
yes.
The game of the year.
Ooh.
Do I need to say more?
Okay.
Are you feeling contentious about this? What do you have that's touching it right now?
I really liked Rebirth. Rebirth was very good this year.
Okay. I'm willing to listen to the discussion. I haven't played Rebirth yet.
Rebirth was very good.
I've
but
heard
Astrobot was
enough
also
good
very
things
good.
about it. But Rebirth, as good as it was, I don't think was getting the same across the board word of mouth
That's true.
like Astrobot has been getting. And that's not to disparage it. I'm just saying I haven't seen anybody who does not at least like really enjoy this game that's played it.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen people that say there are too many side quests in Rebirth. Some of the side quests aren't good, X, Y, and Z, but nobody has had like a straight up negative thing to say about Astrobot.
Yeah. No, it's true. Yeah, I haven't heard, not that I've gone looking for it, but I haven't heard a single negative thing about Astrobot. Like everyone who's playing it is loving it. The only negative I hear is the people who aren't playing it and who are just like negative because it's PlayStation or whatever. Mm-hmm. Apparently console wars are still a thing to some people.
Again, I'm not saying that takes it out of contention.
Yeah.
I know Rebirth is a fantastic game. I haven't gotten around to it yet. I still got a whole nother Final Fantasy I got to get through before I get to that one. But yeah, I don't know, man. That game it's special. It is a masterpiece. It quite honestly might be one of the best PlayStation games ever.
Yeah,
by a landslide.
I agree. It's well, at least for PS5, like we've kind of talked about it before, but I think was it on Discord? We were like, for the longest time, our favorite PS5 game was Ratchet and Clank because I mean, there's not a ton of PS5 exclusive only games, and now that this came out, it's like, well, yeah, this might have just bumped it, right? This might be the number one PS5 game. And
it didn't. Oh, this is so tough. It didn't bump Ratchet and Clank crazy far. Like it's still way up there for me. But I do think that Astro edges it out. Like I think both of these games are fantastic. Right, I think both of these games are phenomenal games. I think Ratchet is phenomenal. I think Astro is phenomenal, but I think Astro edges it out.
Yeah,
in my ranking for best PS5 game.
I think I can agree with you. Like I mean, obviously, Ratchet and Clank had a little more going on with like mechanics wise. Like let's be honest, Astrobot is like just like a pretty simple 3D platformer, but I did more often than not have a smile on my face like 99.9% of the time with Astrobot, where with Ratchet and Clank, I loved my time with it, but it was very much still like, I don't know. I wasn't loving it all the time, It was like, okay, sometimes it just felt like a slog,
a game.
Like, it's a slow part of the game now. Or Astrobot, it's just like I had a grin the whole time. I was right there with you. It's just like, all right, this is very good.
Definitely teared up at the final level of Astrobot for sure. 100%.
So good.
What a game. But yeah, that's what I've been playing. I know you've been playing that in addition to 40K. So did you want to wax poetic about 40K for a second?
Yeah, so I
did play a little bit of, by the way, when I was visiting my brother. He had it too. Yeah.
Oh,
and
okay.
I feel like I was correct that it's Gears of War.
It's Gears. It's 100% Gears of War. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I played all the way through Astrobot. I wanted to beat that first because I know we've talked about maybe doing some little extra content for that. Maybe.
No maybe.
No maybe. But dude, Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2. Let me tell you, 13 years in the making. Been waiting for this. This game is so freaking good. I think I talked about it on the last episode because I had paid for the early access. So I played through just like the tutorial mission at the beginning. That was it. And then my plan was actually right after the show. Like I finished editing and then played online with Nate and Dan for like a hot minute. And then my internet crashed for like an hour. So I didn't get to play long with them. But the week since then, and since I beat Astrobot, I've been back into 40K. I am very close to finishing it. Let me tell you, like it's just so stinking good. Gameplay wise, you're 100%. It's just Gears of War, minus the cover mechanic. Like really the whole idea of Space Marine 2 is like, no, you don't go behind. You're a Space Marine. Like you go full bore. Like if you're not shooting them, you're cutting them down with your chainsaw sword, you know, like there's no cover in this game. Like we're Space Marines. We're better than that. So I can appreciate that a lot. This is by no means a Game of the Year contender. I have no illusions about that. Like I'm not like, but am I having a freaking fantastic time? 100%. This game is so incredibly gorgeous, like graphics wise. I talked about before I was able to get it running on my Steam Deck. It doesn't look great, but it runs on Steam Deck. But I finally got it up and running using I can remote play from my PC. So it'll be running on my PC and then I'm remote playing it on my Steam Deck I don't use the built-in Steam streaming because it's not good. But on my computer, I have Sunshine installed, the Sunshine server. And then on my Steam Deck, I have the Moonlight server, or I guess like receiver or whatever. And let me tell you, it's buttery smooth, no latency, like gorgeous picture. Feels so good on the Steam Deck. I mean, it looks great on my PC too. Whenever I fired up a couple times on PC, it looks great. But what a fun game to take on the go, because I've been traveling the last week or so. So it's great to play on the go, or when I was, just sitting up in the room on the Steam Deck. So graphics wise, gameplay wise, story wise, oh my gosh, like I'm such a nerd for like Warhammer lore anyways.
I thought you were gonna say a nerd for Warhammer, and I was gonna be like, yep.
I mean that too. But like I was never. I've gotten into like Warhammer fantasy a little bit, but 40K has always been my bread and butter. Like the grim dark sci-fi future, just dark fantasy, like futuristic fantasy type theme world that they're going on. I mean, I've been painting Warhammer minis since I was in middle school. Like that's what I've known for over 15 years is 40K. So I know the lore, I know the story, but it's one thing to read it out of a rule book or a codex, or read one of the Black Library, like their fiction novels, but to be able to see it and play it and be in it, I'm really enjoying the story, like getting to hear the story of Lieutenant Titus, who's the character you play as, and like what he's been through and come from, and like his connection to this whole thing that you're in the middle of. It's really cool. Is it just over the top action craziness? Like, yeah, but I love how well the developers, like, you can tell they took the time to learn some crazy lore for this, because if not, people would be calling them out and like pissed about it. Like the Warhammer community would be like, no, this is trash, this is garbage. But people are like, oh heck yeah, like this is so cool, like expanding on some lore, like in little pieces and parts that people kind of knew of before. So overall, fantastic game. Whether you're looking for just a fun story in the Warhammer world, fun gameplay mechanics, if you're looking for another hack and slash Gears of War kind of feel, or if you just want something that looks beautiful. Holy smokes, like it's gorgeous, it's gory as all get out. Like the blood spray is absolutely insane. Just cover your Space Marine suit with blood. But it's a fun game. I highly recommend it. And again, don't go in expecting Game of the Year, but it's a fun play. I really enjoyed it. Sounds like Uncle Gamer in the chat too. 40K, yes, brother. Praise the Emperor and pass the ammo. 100%. I saw some TikTok the other day where it's like, gamers playing Warhammer Space Marine 2 right now, and it was just a cut of like a Hulk Hogan promo, and all it is like just him like breathing like brother brother, you know, it's just like for like 30 seconds of like, you know, cuts of just him breathing and then saying brother. I'm like 100% that's Space Marine 2. It's so good. Very, very good game. Go play it. I also jumped into like 30 minutes of Elden Ring randomly. I told Adrian that before the show. I was like, I didn't play enough to really like get super far into it. I played a lot of it back in the day on PlayStation, but I was like, I've been told it runs really good on Steam Deck, and I fired up on Steam, and it does. I was surprised at how beautiful it looks and how smooth it runs on Steam Deck. So that's not the next game I'm jumping into, that's for sure. Like after I finish Astrobot, I'm about to finish Space Marine 2. I have another idea for next game to jump into, but I was pleasantly surprised that they got such a massive and beautiful game to run so smoothly and so well on the Steam Deck. I wish more studios would do that. Like if they can do it with such a massive open world like Elden Ring, like what's the deal with some of the other studios? Even Space Marine 2, like come on, like there's the technology's out there. You could have made it work if you wanted to, but
yeah,
I digress. All right. Well, thank you all so much for listening, watching. We appreciate each and every one of you. You guys are all fantastic. Whether you're watching live here at twitch.tv/thesupergamerboys or even YouTube. I forget we streamed to both of those. We dual stream here. Might be catching us on YouTube right now. Or if you listen later on podcast apps around the globe, or watch later on YouTube, because we put all of these up on YouTube to watch later as well. Thank you so very much. You guys are all incredible. Remember, you can support us over at patreon.com/supergamerboys. If you love what we do, we would appreciate the help and support. All of that helps buy games like Astrobot and Space Marine and various other games. So, and equipment and hosting fees and the whole, the list continues. So, think about supporting us over there. It helps us tremendously with basically the thing I complained about earlier, where having FOMO and playing all these games for the podcast, it helps fund that. But it means you guys get good content about talking about stuff that we've actually experienced.
Correct.
Actually experienced. So if you want more of that, support us over there. We would love it. It's really, I just want to be clear. I wasn't complaining. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate playing the games.
Of course. I think there's some smart cookies in there.
I know, but I realized I just used the word about complaining. I wasn't really complaining. I was more explaining myself. So I just want to clear. There's no complaints. We love games, good and bad, and I love our supporters. SGB store, sgbstore.com. You can support us over there and buy some sweet merch. Go get that t-shirt with our logo on it. Go get some more of that summer collection that is still up on the site at the moment. Let me tell you, this last month got away from me. So stay tuned to sgbstore.com, though. We got some fun stuff over there and hopefully more stuff to come. Rate and review us where you can, whether it's Apple Podcast or over on Spotify. I think they're doing reviews now, so you can drop a review for us. It'd be very much appreciated. Shout out to Jack Sriracha and Yate for allowing us to use their music on the show. That's who you've been listening to tonight. You can find them over on Apple Music and Spotify. Links to those will show up if you're watching later on YouTube in the description, or on podcast apps, also in the description there. Check them out. Jack Sriracha, Yate are some good people. Also, you can find us during the week over at supergamerboys.com, Twitter and Instagram at supergamerboys. You can find me over on Twitter and Instagram at gmorlang. Adrian, where can they find you at?
You can find me any and everywhere at Homeboy. That's HOLMBOI.
Heck yeah. And Carrie in the chat says, you boys are the bestest. Carrie, you are. Thank you so much. And all of you guys who have been watching and listening. We appreciate all of you folks. Adrian, do you mind taking us out?
I sure can. Folks, as Gary just said, thank you for hanging out with us for another episode of the Super Gamer Boys podcast. As always, we appreciate any and all forms of support. We will see you back here again next Monday. 7 p.m.
7:30.
sharp. 7:30.
Unless you want to go
We
early.
get here 7 for sound check.
Yeah, we get check microphone.
We'll see you next Monday, 7:30 p.m. sharp. But until then, we are the Super Gamer Boys.
And we'll catch you on the flippity flop. Now,
Can you imagine if somebody got here at 7 and they're like, they told me 7. What?
Can you imagine if someone gets here at 7:30 and they're like, wait, they said 7:30.
I wasn't gonna say that.
When do we ever start on time, Adrian? When do we ever start on time?
I was just.
It was 8 o'clock tonight when we started, man.
We try, huh?